Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev.
Good morning,
Hello, my friend and friends.
my friend and friends.
My friend and friends.
Did you
Welcome.
have them? That's right. How are you doing today?
Oh, very energized at the moment. I just got done doing my first summit called Voices of Women. And today is International Women's Day that we're recording this. So when you see this on Thursday, just so you know, it was March 8th. So it was an awesome event. It goes all day till tonight. So when I get done with this, I'll probably hop back on and listen to some of the other speakers. And it's a platform that's been provided to allow women to share their voice, to step into their power of being heard, and a safe space for that. So, and that's, that was something that you and I had to step into as well with ourselves, even to be here doing this and then putting it out for the world to see on YouTube and all the other platforms. Yeah, here we are. I'm
So
growing so much.
did you speak? Did you do a speaking this morning yourself, or
Yeah, I
do you
did my
have?
segment. I just got done with my segment. So it's like kind of like an interview type process. So two people speaking. And then people can watch. It's all through Zoom. People could watch, they could ask questions, make comments. And then the videos are recorded. And people can purchase the recordings to have for as long as they're available to watch. So
And so all this comes out Thursday.
it's happening today, all day
So,
today.
so live, if you were on, you could actually witness or listen to all this stuff live. Because I know I've been on to some summits, you can actually listen to what's going on live, or you can listen to previous ones. Is that something that's capable as long as you're doing it today? Is there a charge for it, or how does this work?
Yeah, so the summit is free to attend today. You can watch any and all, any of the speakers. It's going to be difficult to watch them all because there's over 200. Last I knew, there's 205 speakers in a 12-hour segment. So, or in 12-hour time span. So you can watch as many of them as you could today. If you did want to get all the recordings, then yeah, it's called an upgrade. It's a VIP package, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the price is today. So,
Oh,
yeah. So pretty awesome, exciting.
yeah.
The whole idea of, because I mean, one of the great things on this summit is they had a segment for, or have a segment for some young girls, and we're talking like 10 years old.
Oh, very nice.
From 10 on up, right? And so they're allowing this space for these young girls to use their voice and talk about whatever they're passionate about, or teach what they want to talk about, or teach something, so it really is, to me, I mean, even today, as we acknowledge International Women's Day, is that the women, it's time to use your voice. It's time to step into that power of setting the boundaries of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, is how you're being treated. That's about using your voice and speaking up for yourself. Yeah. So, and that comes from, part of that comes from not only your experiences in this lifetime. I know I was stifled because of having abusive stepfathers. So it wasn't safe for me to use my voice because I'd get in trouble. Right. So I had to be the quiet one, not be seen, not heard. But also, even, if we go back into past lives, witch wounds, that we couldn't use our voice in those times when we were witches because it wasn't safe, because we get burned or hanged or drowned. So, but I think more women are rising. More women are creating home-based businesses, because I mean, really, we're tired. We're tired. I know I was tired of working for people who basically I felt took advantage of my skills. Like the more you get paid, the more work you have to do. And in two of my jobs, one with in a corporate type environment and the other one in a family owned environment is, I mean, I'm really good when I get into a job or task, you know, I'm really good at doing many things, wearing many hats. But you know, that's exhausting. And when people get exhausted, they check out. And that's what I had to do. I had to check out. Both of those places of employment, I was doing the work of 2.5 to 3 people. When I left, both of them, they had to hire 2 or 3 people to fill my role. And so, you know, it didn't matter if I was sitting there begging and pleading, like, please get me some help. You know, oh, we can't afford it. We can't. So here we are. I am a home-based business. I am a solopreneur and I love it. I'm the boss and sometimes my boss is bitchy, just saying.
And then you just tell her she has to go take a nap.
I do. I'm like, all right, we just need to get up and walk away, go get a breath of fresh air, do something different because we're getting a little irritable. And here's the thing though, is we're energy. And so if my energy gets out of whack, it affects personal life, it affects business, all of it. So very have to be when, you know, I feel like I'm more in a heart-based business. And when you're in a heart-based business, more spiritual. And with that comes being in tune with the energy. And so I want to be very mindful of where I'm at mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually when I sit down at this desk, when I step into this room, when I get up out of bed, like it just starts the moment I open my eyes, right? So super important on how I'm feeling and what energy am I bringing into my business that day. So if I'm in a creative mode, like creating a class, putting that information together, that energy, even though you'll see it posted in marketing and on my website, it's energy. And so you're going to feel the energy of what I've put into it. And, you know, if I have crappy energy, that class isn't going to do well. I know it. I've seen it happen. When my energy is up, when I'm in that creative mode, the classes fill up more. So, or it has more attendees. So it's just being very mindful of yourself.
So one of the things I was going to ask you, because you're talking about all this stuff and working for other people and doing the job of more than one, it's how does that show up in your body? Because you're being pulled in a bunch of different directions. I mean, I see how it shows up in people's bodies all the time doing massage and when they come in and I can feel it, but it's like, how did it show up for you? Because people don't realize how this is pretty serious.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't have to be serious, but if you want to take your health into consideration, these are things to consider, because over time you constantly are ignoring your own guidance to basically to please everybody else. Yes.
Very stressed. My stress has always been right here in my neck and shoulders, constant discomfort there every single day. Even when I woke up, it would be there because I didn't want to go to work. It was one of those things where I liked my job. It was just too much. And in, I would say more in the corporate job that I had, the people, I mean, I want to be honest, because this is the space I was in at the time. I just wanted to throat punch them because they had no regard, no respect of what you already had to do, what was already on your desk, what was already weighing on me, the timeline. Like I had timelines. I had to have things done by a certain date, certain time. And they just walk in and say, hey, I need this. I'm like, really? No. And in that time of my life, I was still in that space of, I need to get it right. I need to get it perfect. If I don't get it done, If I don't get it right, if I don't get it perfect, I'm not good enough. And so I would cry. I go to lunch, I would cry. I would go in the bathroom, I would cry. I would go home, I'd cry. It was just like, I was a mess. And I just knew, I'm like, this is not how I want to live my life. I stayed for as long as I did because of the paycheck, because they paid me very well for the benefits. I had medical insurance, dental, vision, and a 401k. I was staying for the money, but my body was suffering. I was suffering on all levels, and it was miserable. And if I'm miserable, that energy again affects my home life, and it affects where I'm working. It affects me wherever I'm going, wherever I'm at. And so I just knew, like, my spirit had been telling me for a very long time, like years, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. You are not supposed to be sitting in an office working for other people. I heard that message, I can't tell you how many times, thousands and thousands of times. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know where else to go that was going to pay me what I was being paid and all the perks. So I stayed until I started figuring stuff out. And at that time in the corporate job, which the last employment that I had, is when I was actually doing more of the self healing, self attention, self love, right? Learning all that. And so the job itself actually provided an environment for me to learn about myself. So the paychecks, so this is where the gratitude came into, those paychecks helped me take the certification courses and attend the retreats and take the other classes and workshops, right? So the money was wonderful in that aspect. And as I was moving and changing and growing and shifting, I knew I wouldn't be staying there very long. And here I am. So that answer your question in a very long way?
No, it does, because it's like, I feel like people need to understand that where they're at right now doesn't have to be where they're at. You know, I've had experiences recently, and one of the things was like, it was like a hypnosis type of thing going on. And it's like, I couldn't see anything, but I could feel like pressure on my side of my head. So on my right side, so our right side of our brain area, like pushing all to the left side. And it's like, I couldn't figure out what it was. And then as we went through the session, we go back to that point and what it was. And I could see a door to get out of there, but it's like, I wasn't mentioning it out loud. I wasn't verbalizing it. I wasn't paying attention to the space. I was paying attention to my energy. And the thing was, it was me doing this to me. It's like, it would be like, you know, we've seen this meme that shows you like we were stepping on the side of your face and,
Yeah.
you know, onto the floor. And that would be me pushing against me, because it's not, I even processed that with you, even saying like being in that space of that business and doing the things. And it's like, we hold ourselves in this space and it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Is it because we're not, you know, there's a million different emotions we can break down: fear, worthiness, you know, which goes along with not being good enough. There's just so many different things that go along with that, but it all boils down to fear anyways. The fear of moving forward, fear of being seen, fear of not being seen, fear of, you know, not having any more income coming in. And it's this journey could be such a confusing place, especially when you get into these dark, when it feels like it's dark for yourself and you're witnessing all these things. It's like, no one, there's always a light at the end of a tunnel. And that's what I kept seeing, this doorway that was a light. That's all it was. But I didn't go to that light. I chose not to, because I was just feeling where I was at. And it's like, I was frustrated. I was frustrated. I was creating my own frustration. It was a good session that I had gone through, but it's like afterwards I feel like I don't feel like myself right now, and I almost feel like that's I don't know if it's the monkeys trying to talk. It's like I don't feel like this elated. I felt like I was talking to myself that whole time, and it's like I fucking have been telling my shit this forever, so this is nothing new to me. None of this information that came forward for me was anything new, which I find to be from my perspective right now, it feels frustrating because I had an expectation of things to be different. Not saying that it couldn't be different. She also had said that everybody that goes into this room like this they have issues with control. And of course, being abused, sexually abused as a child, I learned how to control all my situations around me because that kept me safe. I knew what was happening. It just wasn't any of those type, any interference from outside, but so controlled that you're not allowing this space to live. But it's like, I feel like I've been zapped. Like, I don't even have like, I guess I don't even know how to feel right now. There's a lot of stuff because that's a lot of stuff we talked about and it came to the surface. I feel like then I always knew was there. I don't have that motivational feeling anymore. So now it's like it's finding that space again. So I'm just in this in between zone right now. It's not good or bad. It's not great. During the session, I felt like the heart opening is really a big thing for me. And it's like I really felt the energy of that. But having expectations, so that goes back to the whole thing, having expectations when you go into something and knowing what we're capable of, and even having the practitioner have some of her own beliefs or their own beliefs come forward where it's limiting thoughts like as for instance, if you'd be working on yourself through this hypnosis, this quantum healing hypnosis technique. Your higher self is working on you, but I also feel like it's more than that. And she kind of limited it at that point. I feel like it's the subconscious, it's the collective, there's more. We're a part of all that. So there's no separation. So it couldn't just be myself. So it's like, I kind of got caught up on that a little bit too. So there's a lot of things that I'm recognizing, but I'm also planning on going into, I'm taking the course right now to be able to provide the same type of healing techniques for other people. But so it's for my experience. So I'll be going to go do this probably through another person that's in California next, just to see, because I'm gathering information now, because I want to know what does my person feel like when they're going through this, because it's not the same for everybody. You always hear these glorious stories, and I'm not saying that's not possible. It depends on where you're at. And from where I was at this control place, and even still not going to that door, not taking that move forward, it was huge. But also knowing like all this feeling, so like you could go back to how you felt in that job, yourself is telling you need to get out of here. And you feel this, because I could feel this. It's like, I cannot sit on fucking Facebook and go through another post. I mean, I can't sit there and scroll for an hour. I just can't. I can't waste my time on TikTok. When I went to Phoenix, I had the time to myself. So I didn't utilize that time. At first, my initial response was old patterns, sit back on the bed, turn on the TV. And it's like, no, I'm not turning on this TV. This is a quiet time. This is a me time. This isn't inundating myself with stuff from TV. I read a book. I wrote, I journaled. I added some questions to questions that I had about stuff, which I already knew that I had the answers to. So knowing that before I even started the session, it's like, we don't even have to ask these questions, because they'll ask you if you have 10 questions you want to ask your highest self. And then your highest self speaks through you and tells you he answers these questions. And I already knew all the answers to all this stuff. So that was like, what the fuck, Bev? Like, so then I got disgusted with myself in this whole process. So it's like, it's a journey, but this is the same kind of journey we all have on a daily basis. And it's not spending all the time and wasting the time in it. So but I'm also allowing myself to have this process, because I'm processing this stuff. I'm digesting the information that I gave myself. I'm digesting everything, the process of going anywhere. And I always know things are right. And we've talked about this. You always know that you're on the right path by the stuff that shows up. So I'm driving to Phoenix, right? It was an easy drive. There's a vehicle in front of me on the highway. It says aligned. I don't get it right away. I'm talking to Freeman on the phone. I'm like, oh, there's a license plate in front of me that says aligned. And he says, yeah, it's like your guides are showing you that, whatever he told me. And I wasn't catching it, because I was probably distracted with the road and stuff, because I was at that 4-lane area. So I was just paying attention. And then that night I'm like, oh, shit. I saw, but that's how I wasn't giving myself that space at that time, because I was preoccupied with driving and, keeping an eye on all the traffic that was around me. So I found that interesting. And it's like, even the next day, it's like from my hotel, it was less than a mile to this place. The hotel was quiet. It was decent. I was in there by myself. It didn't have, I mean, everything just worked out fine. Everything worked out fine. And when I leave there, I'm like, it's like 15 minutes till. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta hurry up and get there. And it's like, I get there so early, but I'm driving around this parking lot. I found it because my scout took me there, my navigational system, and it takes me there. And it's like, then I pull into this place in front of this window, and I'm like, I got to figure out what suite this is supposed to be in, because I didn't take the time to look at it beforehand. And I was parked right in front of the window that I was doing this session in. So all I had to do was walk through this gate. I looked at my phone. It says it's this area, and I'm parked out this area that says between 1 and 9 suites, number 1 through 9. And I get out, and it's the first door to my left, and it's like I walked right to it. Like the whole everything I pulled up right to it. It was just so weird. I say it's weird, but it's not weird. This is the way our intuition works on a daily. It works like this every moment, if we choose to see it. So I can get caught up in this stuff. You could have got caught up in that job, but we always have this, like, it's almost like a nagging. It's not a bad feeling, but it's the feeling is we're ignoring ourselves. We can't keep repetitively doing the same thing and then expect something to be different. You know, it's like we're being guided. They're like, oh, go this way, go this way, go this way. And you're just like, no, I'm going to stay this way. I'm used to this way. Yeah, I might turn a little bit to the left, but that's it. But it's funny. It's funny, this processes that we go through. And this is part of my journey. It's just the way it is. And there's no right or wrong. There's just, like I said, we have expectations. We think things are going to be a certain way, and after I digest all this, I'll probably have a bigger understanding of everything that I've gone through. But right now, it's just in that process. It's like I want to say melancholy, but it's probably a little bit better than that. It's just an in-between place.
Well, I'll say, like, a couple things that you talked about, so I'm gonna hit up on them. Is, you go in with these expectations, and then you get hung up on something, and it kind of, it affects your session. Well, first of all, control, right? We know about control. We've talked about control. We know it doesn't work. We know it keeps us stuck and sidetracked and all that stuff. So I just want to share, like, my very first Reiki session. I went in, the lady's like, okay, lay on the table. So I did. She's like, okay, relax. So, and close your eyes, relax. So I did. And the whole time in my head, I'm like, where is she? What is she doing? I don't even know if she's still in the room, right? My head was spinning with all these questions. And so that taught me, when I started doing Reiki, when I got certified or started doing energy work, I let people know, listen, you're going to close your eyes. I'm going to take you through a relaxation process to relax. And are you okay with me touching you? Because the reason why I want to touch you is, where I'm at all times, and it's not a question in your head, and you can still relax, right? So we have experiences where we can gather information, especially if we're going to step into that teaching or healing role. And we have our own experiences so that we can improve the experience for our clients, our students.
Yes.
Right. The other thing is that when you're accessing the subconscious mind, that things may not be revealed right away, like that day. It might be a couple days or a week later, and things start to reveal themselves, and you're like, whoa, that was, like you said, that's weird, right?
I needed you to say that.
Yeah, it's allowing the energy, like the shift in the energy and the stuff to align with where we're at, so we can see it.
Yeah, because I feel like it's been such a big that you can't slam the body around that fast. I thank you for sharing that. That's true. And it's like, there's things that I noticed, because of course I'm in the middle of the first session of this the first class. It's not the class because it's a longer than that, but we're in the middle of this, and it's like listening to it, and I'm already at the point where I've got the whole script, because Dolores has a script that you go by, and so I'm paying attention. I'm not even just paying attention to I'm here just to do this for myself. I'm paying attention to this from a different perspective, like you said, because I'm paying attention to how are her tones right now, how is she responding when she asks about someone's life, because when I'm talking to people for a massage or whatever, I might talk about a lot of different things or bring up stuff that I've experienced because I know it resonates, or I feel like I got to tell them the story, and then they tell me, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that, because same thing that you just did with me, because it's something that was relevant to them. They take a little piece of it out of the, out of the equation for themselves. And I'm talking to her and I'm telling her this stuff and I'm paying attention to how she's asking. Then she asked me a few questions, so it kind of makes me reflective on what I've answered. And it's like, oh, okay, and stuff. And then I see her take out. So now I'm already knowing, okay, this is what she's doing. She's taking out these papers. Okay, so I know that she's going to be reading from the script. And then I've already know the script. I've already read the whole thing, and I'm hearing her, and she's saying the script already. And I've noticed exactly how her voice, for me, the voice can change. So if I'm going to be working on someone, I don't want my voice to change so much as far as the tones, but to drop down lower, and the voice changed so much that it felt like almost a distraction for myself.
Mhm.
So it was something that I paid attention to as far as that goes. She has a nice voice, but it should have just gone down into this, or I mean, just a different place. And it was just interesting how I heard this. Now, she was taking notes the whole time, which made me feel good because I never heard her taking notes. I never heard any of that. I know that I was in the session, even though I'm answering my own questions, I'm in the session, because it's like afterwards, she's like, well, how long do you think we've been in there? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. And she says 2.5 hours. So it's like, what the fuck? With 2.5 hours, it didn't feel like 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
So it's like there was so much to process with all that. So yeah, there's, like you said, I'm taking in information before I end up doing these with other people. Just little tiny tidbits, just like you said, just knowing where the person's at. And I knew that she was by my side all the time because I would constantly be speaking to her. So she would ask me questions. So I knew that she was there all along.
Yeah.
It was an interesting process. Yeah, it was. And I guess that would be probably the thing, that I'm digesting more than one thing. It's more than I'm taking it in from a teacher aspect and a student aspect at the same time.
And you're going to learn stuff from different people. So, the next session you have with somebody else, they're going to do things just a little differently, and you're going to pick up that piece. And that's one of the things that I was told when my mentor was telling me that I was a teacher and a healer, and I told her, fuck off. Cause I was like, no, and no, I ain't doing it. But she told me eventually, when I could hear her, she said, you're going to learn a lot of information. You're going to gather a lot of information, and you're going to create your own. So you're going to just take pieces here and there, and then you're going to make that your own, because from every person, I learned something. I learned a little nugget. I learned what not to do, or what felt better to me. Whatever they were doing that didn't feel good to me, I was like, oh, okay. So when I'm with a client, I need to do this differently, because, for example, are you still in the room? I don't know where you are, right? So it's allowing your own growth. And also what I recognize too is that people, when they're creating these courses and stuff, they're creating them from where they're at.
True.
From
True.
what they have learned, what's worked for them to that point. So they create the course to help people with where the people to like bring the people up to this point. But in the meantime, the teacher is still expanding and growing, right? So then they come up with another course to pull you even further, and so, or help you grow even more. And so, even books, people are writing books from where they're at. And,
True.
You talk to them 5-10 years later, and they're like way past that book that you're still reading now, but you need that book now because that's where you're at, right?
Exactly.
And it just you learn from everything that you experience, even from the people what we would consider an authority. So the hypnotist or the facilitator or the teacher, you're learning from them how they do things. And does that feel good to you? Right? If it doesn't feel good to you, then you're like, yeah, I'm not going to put that piece in there, because if it doesn't feel good to me, the people you attract are going to be similar to you. So you're going to know this isn't going to feel good to them either.
Yeah. And honoring yourself, because no one else is going to unless you do it yourself.
Yeah.
Something interesting was she had said that she a year ago she had learned, because we have some people that are more difficult, maybe they're more left-minded, which means they're more analytical, they're more just really focused on really being in control. So I mean, I have been too, but it's like it's a little bit different. It's like if they're numbers or being in a big boss and managing everybody else. It's she had set up herself energetically. She didn't say exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines where anybody that walks through my door I know they're already a match for what we're doing, because I set that intention up, or she didn't say it exactly like that, but to me, that's what it was. You set the intention, and I've done the same thing with my clients. So that, if I've got something to offer them, that they're going to show up. And it's not, for me, it's not about massage. For me, it's really not about massage at all. There's always a deeper underlying response. It's about the energy. It's about how we keep the energy. It's about, we've talked about having our boxes inside of the mansion. It's about how we hoard all these emotions, and we hoard them because we didn't know how to deal with them at the time, until all of a sudden it's time. Like if someone told me about the mansion 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have, if I would have spent a second on it, maybe that would have been it, But now it's like I can see those boxes, and someone else I'm talking to, and they're like, well, what's in the boxes? We don't have to always know what's inside those boxes. It's a matter of just opening them up.
Chuck that bitch out the window.
That's right. Because what if there's something in that box you want to keep? Well, you've been keeping it all this time. You don't need it anymore. That's why it's in the basement right now with dust and cobwebs all over it. You don't need it. So I just find it, there's like all these processes are different, and we do a lot of these same things. And I didn't recognize that. I was telling Freeman about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, she does this. And he says, well, you've done the same thing. That's why you have your certain clientele. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. But it's so easy to forget those things that we just naturally do. So we go back to the whole conversation of setting our intentions before we go do anything, before we go anywhere, before, like you said, started off in the beginning of the conversation. You got to where we just set our intentions before you go to bed, before you go to work, before you go to the store, before you wash your hair, before you do a dish, whatever. Like, it's like, I'm going to go in there and enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy feeling the water flowing over my hand. I'm going to enjoy washing my hair, which now I do. We have talked about that too. I'd gone through a phase of hair was a big issue for me, because I've always had long hair, was always past my butt, super long, super thick, everything. And I didn't appreciate it when I had it. I did not appreciate it.
Yeah.
I remember so many times bitching to Jim when I'm curling my hair, it's fucking going to take forever. You don't understand. Like, he would say stuff, because I'd have to do, like, my hair would be so thick that I'd have to do it in so many different parts to be able to get it done. I didn't appreciate it. I appreciate that I actually had that opportunity to feel those things now. So that's going back. So energetically, I know I can go to that space and change the way that feels. By now, I'm curling my hair and enjoy that whole feeling. So now when I get into the shower and I wash my hair, because things have changed within my hair now. They're thicker. It's got more of a weight to it. It's it's becoming more dense. There's more hair growing in. It's definitely thicker. There's just so much going on with it that's so different but I'm appreciating it. I'm appreciating when I'm brushing it. I'm appreciating when the water flows over it and I'm washing it, because it feels so different. It feels so different than what it felt like 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. It's dramatically different. And that was because I decided to change how I'm looking at things. We talk about healing ourselves, and we always can. It's always up to us. We're the one that blocks it or doesn't allow it. And that's one of the things, that's my proof for myself. And it's like asking the body, what do you want? Like, I would love to have my hair thick, but what does it want? What does it need? Asking these questions, what message are you telling me? Because as we know, a lot of us know, our body is just a messenger. It's just giving us information of what we've been putting into it, but we're not listening to it. So it's just trying to answer our questions or get our attention. And why did it show up in my hair? Because that was the way it could get my attention the most. Because it wasn't the shit that was outside of me. It was always everything that was inside of me, always, this whole time. That's what this whole journey's been all about. It wasn't about focusing on everything outside of me and how it was going to that can make me happy for 5 minutes, because that happiness doesn't last as long when it's outside of you. But when you have that happiness inside of you, it's long term, it lasts longer. Nobody can take it away. It's yours.
And stress is a contributing factor to baldness.
Oh, yes, it is. It is. It is.
Right. And so that's how it showed up in your body to get your attention. Like you said, like your hair starts falling out, ladies, you pay attention to that.
Yeah. I mean, you don't think, but we have other parts. There's other parts of my body that's been speaking to me too. And it's like, I haven't been listening, Well, guess what? When this started going on, it's like, I hear you. I hear you. And I spent plenty of time crying about it and whining about it and bitching about it and lacking of it and
worried about it.
Oh yeah. Fear. I mean, all these things. And it's like, I wasn't, I'm first of all, so much more than that, but that was the way it got my attention. So now I start going within, you start meditating, you start asking questions. I get gelatin. Next thing that shows up for me is silica. Well, that's easy, and then it's like things start changing. It's just, and you're on it till I'm sure different ways of doing body testing. One of the ways that I learned to do body testing was to stand straight up, have a little bit of a bend in your knees, and you could ask the body to show you, or you could, lean forward and tell your body this is a yes, and then lean backwards, and that's a no. And then you'd ask yourself a question initially, my name is Beverly. And my body would automatically lean forward. It's not something that you do. It's just something you relax into, and it does it for you. So you could do the same thing, even with your pills. Even if I tell you to go try silica, horse tail or horse, whatever it is, go try some silica. If you stand in that store and you hold on to that bottle and you ask your body to show you a yes or no, is this going to be beneficial for me? Does my body need this at this time? And you're going to get a yes or a no. It may slow down your shopping trip, but who cares? Because then you're not going to buy stuff you don't need. Because just because something's working for me, I have a different life experience.
Yeah.
And versus anybody else, versus my sister that grew up in the same environment that I did. We have perceived different experiences.
Yeah. Another technique to do that by yourself is where you interlock your fingers.
Yes.
And you ask, and if it's a no, like it will break. Like there is no strength there, it'll break. But if it's a yes, like it's very strong.
Another way you could do, question things is through a pendulum. It's not necessary. You could use a pendulum. You could use your necklace as a pendulum, but also recognizing that any of these things that we do, as far as asking, if we have an emotional attachment to something, we start getting muddled answers. For instance, if you're asking about a relationships, whether it's through your pendulum or your body or anything like that, and you've got an attachment, as soon as you think about like an instance, is he cheating on me? As soon as you think about that, creates a feeling inside of your body like, oh, that feels uncomfortable. Well, you're already emitting, whether you try to or not, that's a triggered response, and that's going to show up when you're trying to do that reading with your body or with the pendulum. So those kind of things, you get more muddled answers, or it'll just be not clear at all. You just won't get it, or you'll get stuff that's going along with your emotion at that time. It'll be like a yes or a no. There's just different stuff that comes through, and you could ask it again another time when you're in a neutral space, and the answers are totally different. And it's not because the pendulum or your body lied to you. It's because you weren't in a space that you could handle that information, because you had emotional attachment to it.
Right. And that comes back to, like you were saying earlier, you had these questions and you already knew the answers to them. You already knew the answers.
Yeah.
And you just weren't listening. Right. And we get to choose. We get to choose to listen or not.
Yeah. Well, and that's true. And it's like Freeman says, he says, well, it's not to be upset that you already knew all those answers. It's to know that you're already evolved enough to have that communication with your own self.
Like you already saw the sign, like you're
exactly.
Alive.
Exactly. There's no question there. Exactly. But that's where we get into our head, right? So that's where the monkeys start talking a lot of crap, or just like she was saying, throwing poo. Because that's kind of how it is when you start getting caught up in your head. when I know when I came out of that experience, it felt good. It felt good. I felt good. I knew that. And then it's like I went through this whole process, and this is part of my process. And now that I'm glad we're talking about it, because I probably would have waited till afterwards and said some things to you about it. It's like, no, this is truly how I'm feeling right now. And it's like, it's not always freaking unicorns, rainbows, and butterflies. Sometimes they're actually flying over you and you hope they don't have a full bowel. That's all.
Right.
That's all. 'Cause that's how it feels sometimes.
The umbrella.
That's right. Man, shit's getting real today. Yeah, for sure. But it's knowing that I'm on the right journey. It just helps it when we talk about these things, it helps to clarify. It
Yeah.
brings forward information. Otherwise, you keep it inside of you, keep it all bottled up, put it into a box. And man, that stuff just gets a little bit out of control. It's like taking a bunch of hamsters that are just like ornery, putting them on a wheel and putting them in a box and just let them go forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, those guys, they've been set free. They're just running rampant right now. They'll be processing through the body pretty soon, and we'll have that conversation later.
Right. Right. And it's also, you know, in the session, because I would do this with a psychic medium. I would already know the answer, and I would go to her and I would ask my question, and she'd tell me what I already knew, and then I'd be pissed. Because here's the deal. It's not what I wanted to hear.
Shut your face.
It's not what I wanted to hear. I didn't like the answer I got, and I wanted somebody else to tell me something different. The other piece of that is it came down to, at that time in my life, was confidence. I didn't have the confidence to listen to the information I was receiving from spirit, from universe, from God, wherever that information comes from. It's called collective consciousness. I wasn't confident in myself enough to receive the guidance. And
to
that's
me,
one thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That the more I follow spirit guidance, the more confident I am.
Yeah. And it's a trust thing too. I mean, it's a trust thing too. And that was one thing that
trusting yourself.
And that's what I was going to say, because if you don't trust everybody around you, you don't trust yourself.
Right.
That's really what that boils down to. Really, it really is, because otherwise they wouldn't be in your experience. And I'm saying that out loud because that's exactly me answering some more of my own questions that I had had in my life. You know, not being able to trust. Well, wasn't able to trust because I couldn't trust myself. I didn't trust that I made the right decisions. I didn't trust that I am on the right path. I didn't trust the words that were coming out of my mouth, because somebody else would have made me doubt what I was saying. And when I say somebody else would have made me, that's not even a true story. That's a false story. Somebody else said something and I took it as my story, that I couldn't do that anymore. That was me. If we're going to be honest, we take responsibility for ourselves in all of our actions, words, and our thoughts.
Well, it's easier to blame somebody else. They made me do it, so here I am, and now my life sucks. Well, yeah, but no, they said something and you took action on what they said.
Yeah. That just takes us into a victim place, and that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good for me. Not that I haven't gone there. Oh, because I've gone there a few times. I even probably in this process, I might have thought, you know, that, well, I could have done something different, or this could have been done different, or, you know what I mean? Like, instead of trusting and knowing this is exactly, it was aligned. And that's the thing that would get me. I know that the way that I'm processing this afterwards, it's like, I know that it was all meant to be exactly how it was meant to be, because it happened so easily. It was guided. The whole thing was guided. It really was.
And it could be just a huge confirmation of, Bev, look how amazing you are right now. Look how much you're listening to your spiritual guidance. Look how in alignment you are. And I'm here, and we're here to confirm this for you through this lady, through this facilitator.
Yeah. I was already doing it.
Yeah, and this is where we get hung up on expectation, right? We have this expectation that things are going to be a certain way, and when they don't show up that certain way, we get disappointed. And then we go into the stories.
Yeah.
The victim stories. When in fact, every situation there's something to learn and grow from. And so it was perfect.
Yeah, no, it was perfect.
And we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? If you hadn't, not in this way, we wouldn't be having this conversation in this way had you not had that experience and then brought that into the conversation, which the conversation is going to help other people because
Yes.
people just listen. We do this for our own therapy. Okay. This is why Bev and I have these conversations every week for our own therapy. You get to listen to it and hopefully it helps you.
Yeah, but it's true. And because you're not alone, and it's like we're all evolving. And sometimes this is how it feels. Sometimes it just feels heavy and mucky. That's how it feels sometimes. And it's like, I'll say, I'm asked what's wrong. And it's like, I'm just working through stuff because I don't know how to verbalize it yet, which is why it's nice to have someone you can talk to. So when we talk about these things, or when I talk about it with Freeman, or, there's other people that I talk to things that they have a deeper understanding about all this kind of stuff. It brings forward so much more. You get so much. It's like breaking down the whole circumstance or situation or whatever, however you want to label it. It breaks down everything, and you can see things so differently because it's not just your perspective. It's so nice to have other perspectives. It really is.
Because you
I
get
mean,
you get in that space where, like you said, it's clouded. And when it's
yeah,
clouded, it's like we put these blinders on and this is all we can see is right here. And when you're able to you know, talk out loud with somebody, they don't have an attachment. Like I don't have an attachment to my client stories or my student stories, right? I don't have an attachment to it. And so I can see a bigger view from a bigger viewpoint. I don't have the blinders on. I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece. So what are we going to do with these pieces instead of just staying right here in this mud puddle or this quicksand? Right.
yeah,
So a coach or like I feel like you're a coach, and when you're with your massage clients, like we help clear that cloud where it's like bringing clarity to you so you can see solutions, which is what we've talked about before, is be solution oriented, which empowers you instead of staying in that victim role of why is this happening to me, and instead ask, why is this happening for me? What am I learning about myself? How am I growing and expanding from this? And believe, I mean, you may not get it right now. You may not get it right now, but I guarantee you down the road, you move through your process and you find a way to heal whatever experience is weighing you down. Somebody is going to cross your path with a similar situation. And look, you have the wisdom to help them. Not necessarily say, here, let me take you under my wing and help you. It means you have the resources.
yes. And it's just not something you read in a book. It's your actual experience. It's your wisdom. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And it also confirms we're not alone, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if Bev and I's conversations are affecting you, that's showing you're not alone. Like other people have experienced these things too. We're just allowing ourselves to use our voice to share what's on our hearts, to share what's weighing us down, to work through it so that you can witness that and it helps you as well. So you're welcome. That's my ego talking. I'm just saying, it's my ego.
Nice. I like that.
So it is important to, because I know I did this most of my life. I was a very independent thinker, and it was, I will figure out my own shit. I'll figure it out. And you know what? It's a whole lot better when you have support of where you can work through it.
Yeah. It's a lot faster.
It is a lot faster, so much faster.
It's like someone coming into your mansion and help you unpack all these boxes.
Yep.
Really, it is. That's what it felt. That's what came into my mind. Because that's the thing. Because when we're doing all by ourselves, we feel like it's heavy. It's like I got so much more to look at all those boxes I still got to take care of. Until we go back to what earlier in the conversation, it's really maintaining our energy, because otherwise, whatever we put out, it's going to be a match to this energy that we're putting out. That's what you're going to attract.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's an awareness thing. Because I can't label it good or bad anymore, because everything is, if it's something that you would perceive as bad, and you learn something good from it, then how can it be a bad thing?
So it was a shit show at the time, but it was an amazing experience later.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
After it's all said and done, it's like, man, I'm glad I made it through that. I'm glad I made it through that with a clear understanding of where I'm going.
And the strength, the endurance, the power. I mean, all these qualities that you have in you that you didn't even recognize when you're moving through it.
Oh yeah.
And you can't see those qualities when you're in a victim standpoint. You have these amazing qualities in here in you that like you're a badass. Like I just keep coming back to that. Like we're just freaking badasses for even being here in this planet right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like,
And at the same time, we're very lucky too.
Yeah,
We're very lucky to be here.
for sure. For sure. And whew, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Great.
I think every week our conversation, I'm like, that was the best conversation ever. Every week, I think I feel like that. So that means we're growing and expanding within ourselves for me to feel that way because we're having these, like, I don't know, I feel like they're deep conversations that you just don't
Yes.
have with your normal people in your environment. Right? There's some
You
people who
can.
get it, some people don't get it. You just find the people who resonate with you, right?
You set yourself up, that goes back to setting your intentions, thinking that you have, because I'll have people that come in, it's like, I just want more people like you to be able to talk to. Well, you can't. You've already started that whole process just by having that desire.
Right.
Now it's like setting your intention every day. It's like I'm running into people all the time. And just saying that and having this feeling, I'm running into people all the time and we're having these deep conversations. It's like so great. When I walk away, I'm like, wow. And I know when they walk away, they're like blown away too. Like this is like the best conversation ever. And I hope I find more people to have conversations with us like this with other people. And you will.
Yep. Yep. And that's why, I mean, that's why successful business owners, I can guarantee every one of them's in a mastermind group because they can get solutions quicker by coming together, sharing their ideas or sharing their struggles and figuring out those solutions. Or again, somebody in that group has already experienced what you're asking. And so bam, they have the resources or they have the guidance to share, the wisdom to share. And that's how people keep being successful. They keep being successful because they have this amazing support team where they can have these conversations.
Yeah, that's nice. This is probably the first time that I've actually heard you say that it felt good to think about mastermind. Not that I don't think it's a good thing, but how it feels good to me to have that conversation because it is. And you've said it before, but I wasn't hearing it the same way that I was hearing it as I heard it today.
Yeah. And sometimes using different words, right?
Oh yeah, because that's huge. That's like such a benefit to you to be able to have access to that. That's a huge benefit.
I mean, seriously, I'm in a mastermind group, actually two mastermind groups. One feels like therapy session. The other one's for business. I can go into the business group and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with my business, or, hey, I'm thinking about doing this process. Has anybody experienced this? Do you have any input? Like, and I get feedback from many people. That's my support system for my business. I don't go to my husband or my friend. I don't call friend. Like, I have a support system here that is my go-to.
That's awesome.
And the mastermind that I said is like a therapy session is like similar to what we're doing here. We share what's on our heart, we share what we're struggling with, we get support, we get input, we get guidance, we get resources, and all right, see you in 2 weeks.
And it's up to you to choose what you're going to do with it.
Yes.
So it's like one of the things.
Both groups,
yeah,
all women.
Oh, okay.
Both groups, all women. And that is huge for me. Huge to be in groups of women.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
What were you asking? I interrupted
No,
you.
I was gonna say that it's like even during that session that I had, we had gone to a time and it's like I could see myself. I was a doctor in this place, but I was not a doctor with medicines. I was more of a natural doctor. I was giving out herbs and stuff like that, or telling them where to go get them. And she's like, "Well, why do you tell them where to go get them?" I said, "Because they have to do it for themselves." Just like you said, here you're in that class, and they're like, "Well, here's the information. See you in 2 weeks." You can do whatever you want with that information. You could throw the information away. You don't even have to look at the information, or you can take the time and look at the information. It's however you want to handle life. I can go, if someone recommends something and my body says, yes, go do it. And then I don't go do it. Well, that's on me,
Right.
but it's all right. That was my choice. So it's like, that's why it's nice that it's like, I'll see you in 2 weeks, see how things turned out for you.
Yeah.
And then they come back and it's like, you find out whether they did it. And if they didn't do it, that's great too. They just weren't meant to do it just yet. It's all right.
And life does happen. Things do come up.
Oh, it does.
But, you can't use that as the excuse every time. You do have to do the work at some point.
Yeah. And procrastination, I know we're probably getting closer to the end, but it's like procrastination's huge. Like it's really huge. We kind of touched on it last time. We've had the conversations about it before. It's been in my experience. I've been a master procrastinator. Like I'm now at a meeting that I'm like, I used to be a master but I don't say that. I'm just recognizing, when the stuff comes up, instead of I'll do it tomorrow, I'm going and doing it right now. Journaling. So it's all these things that we got to do for ourselves. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's not anything outside of yourself. You talked to me about journaling for the last, I don't even know, since I met you. And I did it a couple times, but now I'm a little bit more consistent. I'm doing it a couple times a week. So, and that makes a big difference. It really does. It's just like, it's just kind of keeping yourself accountable. It's actually just showing up for yourself, right? Because it really is. When you show up for meditation, what does my higher self say yesterday? That I could, that it'd be preferable that I was doing at least 2 sessions of 15 minutes at a time throughout the day, once maybe early and midday, and then the other one a little bit later in the afternoon of meditation. So it's up to me. Right. Here's your paperwork. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Let me know how this works out for you. If I want that connection, it's so fucking easy. But for some reason, I found myself in a room putting pressure on the side of my face to the floor. Like, go ahead, try to get up. I'm not going to let you. Go ahead, try to make a move. I'm not going to let you.
You're not listening anyway.
That's right. I don't know if you heard me, but you froze on a place, which I should have done a little picture of it. I was telling everybody else to do that, but it's like if anybody was watching, because I'm like, you froze, right? Like you're laughing. And I'm like, that is the picture right there. You see that? You guys take a picture of this and like, look at that. Remember that joy. Feel how that felt. Because when we connect with people, we feel their energy too. Absolutely. So it's like a huge opportunity. Yeah. Frozen in time right there. That's for everybody to see.
I love it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. When you're talking about, I just want to hit on this real quick. Procrastination keeps us stuck, and it keeps us in that cycle. Like you're talking about the hamster wheel, it keeps us in that cycle of the muck and guck and the cloudiness and beating ourselves up and the not good enough story. But when you get that momentum going, like you were talking about, when there's something that needs to be done, like you do it, and you're it's like we get that momentum going. That's when we create amazing things. And I keep, I refer to my business a lot. It's like I could show up and then I could stop and then procrastinate, but then I got to show up and get that momentum going again. So it's like more energy exerted than if I got the momentum going and just keep going. But it's from a space of the joy of the business, the joy of the creativity, the joy of all the things, right? And keeping that momentum going. It's so much easier to do that than stay stuck. And stuck is just that it's just energy that you don't have any energy in motion. So
Yeah.
it takes action to get unstuck and keep the momentum going.
Quit making yourself a freaking prisoner.
Oh, I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, at some point you got to get tired of it. I mean, seriously, at some point it's got to be exhausting.
I'm tired of it.
All right. So things happen and internet happens. So I get to choose. I can be frustrated and irritated by these experiences today if my internet keeps going out, or just be in the joy that I have internet, that we were able to do this process and then have this conversation and we get to share it. So there you have it.
Right. It's just a pause and reflect time. That's all.
Maybe that was it. It's just pause. They said something amazing. Pause.
That's right. Digest time, it's good stuff.
Right. All right. So thank you for being with us, sharing your energy and your time. We know that that is super important, and we appreciate you hanging out with us, whether it's live or watching a recording. And if you know anyone who could benefit from this information, then please share it. We're not here to be kept a secret. We want, that's why we have the conversations every week, is so people can get the pieces that will help them take at least one more step forward. And we just keep moving and keep that momentum going. So you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker. So we're in many areas of the world, and it's easy to connect with us. You can also reach out to us at amieandbev@gmail.com. If you have questions or comments, you can also post them in the comment box, and we get to them as quick as we can. Any last words, my dear?
Just be gentle on yourself and make a beautiful week.
Absolutely. Ease and grace.
That's right.
Grace. Love yourself through it. All right, my friends. Thanks for hanging out. Tea time with Amie and Bev. We'll see you next week.
Bye.